To me, what's awesome about CG filmmaking is that you can do anything. And that's what attracted me to it in the first place. I mean, previous to creating the animation studio at Blizzard, I was a kid who was interested in animation, in animated films, because they could be anything. I thought that was the coolest thing ever. So once we had this opportunity at Blizzard, we didn't want to go out and start shooting live action. Some people were doing that, like Wing Commander. They incorporated live action and CG. But we thought, what's the point? Let's just be all CG. Because if it's all CG, characters can be anything. They can be aliens, creatures, they can be humans, but more than humans, we can do whatever we want. And that's what's so cool about it. Cinematics are animated sequences. Usually each one is pretty short, maybe a few minutes, and they are created specifically to be viewed in the context of video games. So a cinematic is maybe an intro sequence, or it's something that plays after you've completed a mission or something like that. Most of the time it's a way to draw the viewer into the world, move the story forward. The process of creating a cinematic is pretty much just like the process of making any other film, or certainly any other animated film. We have different groups of people, different specializations. So, for example, at the beginning of the process, the director, maybe the creative director from the game, people who are coming up with the story and the ideas, will sit down with the storyboard team and start to kick ideas around, and those get fleshed out in storyboards. Once everybody's pretty happy with that, then we start to get the concept artists involved. We have people who are dedicated to painting, coming up with ideas, concepts, visual concepts for everything you can think of, whether that's characters or sets or magical swingies or whatever it is. It all needs to be sort of conceptualized. So those people are working on that. Once we have that, then we have a team of modelers. The modelers work in 3D using the computer as their tool rather than clay or whatever. And so they actually create I want to say physical, it's not a physical version, but the 3D version of the things that the concept artists had come up with. Then you have the animators. Animators animate the shots to match what the storyboards tell them the story is. You have lighters. Once the shots are animated, the animated models will then go to the lighting team, who use virtual lights, and they basically light it just like you would light with real lights. And it goes off to the big rendering farm that exists off in the ether somewhere. And all of those pixels get rendered, and they come back and they go to the editors, and it gets timed and edited to match the boards, or things change a little bit along the way, but basically you start with storyboards, you end with an edited work, and all of these things happen in the middle, just like they would happen at Disney or ILM or you name it. Teamwork and collaboration is everything for making these kinds of animated films. So the producer's job is to always be in touch with everybody who needs to be coordinated. So for example, there is a producer for every team. So the modeling team has a producer, the surfacing team has a producer. Let's just talk about those two. So, the animation team has a producer. So these three things all are connected: modeling, surfacing, and animation. So those three producers need to be sure that they're coordinating the schedules of the people who are currently working on the model or going to be working on the model, so the handoff can happen. This is kind of a constant thing, all day, every day, just adjusting, always checking in, seeing how things are going. Is the model going to probably be finished on time? Does it need revisions? Is it going to take longer? How's that going to affect everybody else down the road? And the producers are always also making sure that people who need to be talking are in fact talking. And so you're not going to get to the end and discover, oh, the arms can't move because the animator was never consulted, and the animator says that won't work, and then you have to start over. You don't want that to happen. It was always just a lot of fun when we were all there just jamming, working together. You could just walk around the studio and just feel the vibe, you know, so cool. I remember Nick told me one time, he was like, I just can't believe, like, I would do this for free. You know, I can't believe that they actually pay us to do this and they give us anything we need to do it. It's amazing. And so everybody just was coming from that place. Everybody just wanted to make the coolest thing that they could, and they were just giving it their all. And so because everyone was all aligned, there was something pretty special about that early group. It just felt very, very tight. The group was like a family. And that was very special, even beyond the work. But the work also, I think, was a result of that. I think for people working at all levels of the CG industry, there has been historically an expectation that people are going to work a lot. People are going to work crazy hours. If you're working on a film and it has to get done, it has to get done. And so if you're at a CG house and you're working on this film, you're going to live there, you're going to sleep there, whatever it takes. But I think it's gotten better over time. I mean, certainly at Blizzard, I know my oldest son is there now, and his experience has been very well tempered. They don't do that. They don't do these death marches. They're just much more realistic about what needs to happen and what it's going to take to make it happen. And so it's a lot healthier. So I think that actually has improved, which is a great thing. Great CG artists are just like any other artist. I mean, if you go and you look up on, and go on DeviantArt or whatever, and you see people who are working in CG, but it doesn't matter. I mean, there's been so much blurring of the lines between what is traditional and what is now created using a computer as a tool. It doesn't really matter. What matters is the person who is actually creating the art. So CG computers, they're just a tool. It could be clay, it could be a paintbrush, it could be a digital pen. It doesn't really matter. So I think the thing that they all have in common is that they are just really good artists. And so what makes a really good artist? I think really good artists are people who are very observant. They're people who are very in tune with what's going on around them, even if they're not, even if they seem like they're focused on the thing. No, they're animators in particular, because animators are really, especially if you're animating humans, but even if you're not animating humans, even if you're animating orcs are just big green humans. It doesn't really matter. It's all about picking up on the things that people do, the way that people act, the way that people communicate with each other without even speaking. It's all about those subtleties and those quirks. And so you have to be very observant of those things and then incorporate that into how you're bringing a character to life. And that's what really makes it work. The path to becoming a director, a cinematic director at Blizzard, kind of changed over time. Used to be that, well, there were only a very few people, so someone would raise their hand and say, I'll take this one, and we'd kind of go, cool, I think you can do it, so cool. But that was way early on. The typical path is much more story-centric. people who are really good at storytelling will tend to become the directors. So who is that? Well, that's storyboard artists. There's several directors who came from being storyboard artists. That is editors. Editors are actually all about storytelling. You know, it's all about the pacing and the structure. And so we had some directors who came up from editorial and writing team. Again, it's all about story. So that's how it's developed over time. And I think that's pretty typical for directors in any form of filmmaking. You have to be a storyteller. Anyone who's interested in getting into the art side of CG really should be working on their portfolio. You can start that anytime you want. You can work on it anytime you want. You just need to be working on it, and you need to have something to show that represents your work. And even better than just showing your best work, even a progression of, well, here's what I was doing 2 years ago, and here's how much I've improved by the time you've made this portfolio, like if you're graduating from high school or something. There are specific skills and programs that people use. I mean, you should know Maya, you should know Photoshop. There are many others. Really, what you want to do is you want to go and find online communities of CG artists, like, DeviantArt is one, where people are going and they're just showing their work and they're asking for feedback on their work, and everybody's kind of helping each other, you know, giving suggestions, and it's a great place to go and learn and level up really quickly. There are always entry-level positions, whether it's on the creative side or the production side. On the creative side, I mean, an artist is kind of an artist. We have senior artists who tend to, well, they have more experience and they know how things work. So they will tend to work as mentors for the newer artists, but the newer artists are doing legit art. I mean, it's not like we're just having them wash the car or something, you know. So everybody who gets in is expected to be able to keep up. On the production side, I think it's all about internships. It's about trying to get involved in video productions early on. You just really have to find any production that's going on that you can try and be a part of. I mean, this works great when you're still in school and there are other people doing student level productions and things like that, and you just volunteer to be the production person on that and do it, learn it, add it to your resume, and over time you'll actually have experience that you can show. I'd say to anybody who is watching this, who's interested in getting into CG film production, animation, games, just go for it. I mean, if you're into it, you just spend your time doing it, focus on it, show the world what you can do, and it's a great place to be.